Thank you very much. I am deeply honored and very, very appreciative of this opportunity to stand before you not only as a living reminder of a long, long ago historical event, but also I'm honored to be here as a standing and speaking representative of over 2,400 other individuals who, because of that event, have been unable to stand or to speak for themselves for 82 years past. Also, I stand in remembrance of over 10,000 American military personnel who, like myself, were on the island of Oahu that morning and survived that event, but who have since passed on. I was a 17-year-old sailor trying to be the very, very best, most dedicated military man that I could possibly be. And as such, I was assigned the 0800 to 1200 security watch at Aerial Patrol Squadron VP 23's hangar, Building 54, located on the harbor inlet end of Naval Air Station Fort Island, right in the center of Pearl Harbor. Like the gentleman said, the bullseye of Pearl Harbor. I heard the sound of approaching aircraft, but that's not unusual. We're a naval air station. Airplanes come and go, but not usually on a Sunday, and certainly not that early in the morning. Suddenly and simultaneously, there was a tremendous roar, and bomb fragments, explosion debris, and window glass came crashing into the back of my head, ears, neck, and onto my shoulders. Believe you me, folks, something like that can kind of upset your best laid plans for the day, if you know what I mean. It took me a little while to get my train of thought back together. Even when I did, I'm thinking it's one of our friendly air group pilots, hot dogging, crashed. I'm going to go down and see if I can be of some help. When I got on the lower level, went out through the narrow opening, left the unclosed end of that big rolling steel hangar door, the sound of another airplane. I looked up, and although it wasn't fully daylight yet, I could make out the outline of this airplane in a very steep power dive, and I'm seeing what's looking like blinking or flashing lights on the front, hearing strange popping, buzzing, and whizzing sounds all about me, but I don't recognize either of them for what they were. Later I was told that what I thought were blinking or flashing lights was actually machine gun muzzle flashes, and those popping, buzzing, and whizzing sounds that I was hearing were those machine gun bullets striking and passing through the structure of that PBY patrol bomber that was parked next to where I was, and then ricocheting off the concrete apron underneath it or off the steel hangar door right behind it. Since I didn't recognize them for what they were, again, I didn't think they were any danger to me, you know. My interest was in a big old bomb hanging there on the bottom of the fuselage between that Bell dive bomber. Suddenly that bomb released, it wobbled as it began to fall, and that airplane began to pull out of its dive. By the time it had completed its flight and its dive and was in level flight, I don't think it was any more than about 100 to 150 feet over my head. It's then that I first saw and recognized that big, round, red insignia there on the bottom of the wing. That, and the fact that he has just dropped a bomb, has convinced me, oh, these are not the friendly fellows I thought they might be. I turned around and hurried back inside the hangar, hoping I could find someone with a key to the ammo shack. All of our guns and ammunition was locked up, and I wanted to get a gun and some ammo and get at these guys, you know. But as I come in the front door of the hangar, the other few that I went on duty with that morning were heading out the back door. Somebody, I suppose the duty officer, spots me and says, "Hey, you, follow me." I went after him. I thought, oh boy, he's in charge here. It's his responsibility to set up a defense. Surely we'll go get guns and do that. But I would soon be very, very disappointed, because when he went out the back door of Building 54, instead of turning to his right and leading everybody down to the ammo shack to get guns and ammunition, he turned to his left, ran out in the area of the compass rose, jumped into an on-field construction ditch. Everybody followed, jumped in after him. Since I'm coming in the front door when they're going out the back door, I'm about the last guy into that ditch. I hit the bottom of that ditch, got myself stabilized, looked up. I'm looking right at a guy there in his white uniform. The work uniform with those blue dungaree trousers and a blue chambray work shirt. But he was in his dress white uniform, so he was going into Honolulu, going to church or something. Never did find out why he was in his white uniform, but that's what he was. Because there on the left sleeve of that uniform was a petty officer's rating badge. And I recognized the winged round cannonball, the insignia of an aviation ordnance. Are you the duty ordnance? Yeah. Are you the got a key for the ammo shack? Yeah. Well, let's go get guns and ammo and shoot these blankety blanks, you know. So I hadn't much more than hit the bottom of that ditch, and I and that ordnanceman were on our way up out of the ditch. Somebody, I suppose the duty officer, calls out, "Get back in the ditch! Get back in the ditch!" I don't want to be in that ditch. We're military men. We should be putting up a defense. We shouldn't be here in this ditch. Besides, I know this is the beginning of that war that they've been talking about and we've been preparing for. And I'm from a proud family, and I damn well know that if I'm going to lose my life in this battle or any other battle of this war, I would want my family and my country to know that I died fighting, not hiding. We continue upon that We continued about that edge, started to run for the ammo shack. Then I heard the most unexpected military command directed at myself and the ordnanceman I thought I would ever hear in the military. We weren't running to get out of the action, we were running to get into the action. Anyway, again, somebody, I suppose the duty officer calls out, "Get back in the ditch or I'll put you on report for disobeying a direct order." Hell's bells, talk about being between a rock and a hard spot. You know, these guys in these airplanes are machine gunning and dropping bombs, trying to do as much damage as they could, and maybe as a little collateral damage, kill a few of us. And our own duty officer Shelton here in the ditch is threatening us with military discipline for wanting to defend ourselves. I couldn't believe it. With total and complete disregard for the threat of military discipline, with total and complete disregard for the fact that aerial bombs and machine gun bullets were raining down on the hangar to where we were running. We continued to run. We made it to the ammo shack. The ordnanceman unlocked the door, let himself in. I'm right behind him. What do you want? Give me a 50 caliber machine gun. Well, I'm a recent farm boy. The biggest gun I'm used to firing is a little shoulder-fired 22 caliber rifle. This is not a shoulder-fired gun. It's a fixed mount machine gun. Hell, man, it looked to me like a cannon without wheels, you know. But I took it as best I could, most likely cradled it in my arms, turned and started for the door. By now, I guess a few other brave souls, they hadn't ought to be in that ditch either, and they'd followed us to the ammo shack. The guy coming in the door was taller than I, huskier built. I just offloaded that machine gun to him, saying, "Here, take it to the BBY parked in front of Plain Street's hangar. I'll get the ammo." He looked a bit surprised, but he took it, turned around, and out the door he went. I turned around there again. I'm so grateful and thankful for that aviation ordnanceman, because when I turned around, he was just setting 2 canisters of 50 caliber ammo up on the counter. I grabbed those 2 canisters of ammunition, turned, and out the door I went. Now, I'm not a runner or a sprinter, never have been, but I guarantee you, I beat the guy with a gun to the airplane. We were approaching that airplane from the port side, basically the southeasterly direction, the same direction that the attacking aircraft were approaching from. But the ladder to get into the airplane was hanging from the starboard gun blister. I ran up on the backside, set those canisters down, started up the ladder. I don't think I got more than a couple of rungs when it dawned on me, hey, if I get inside this airplane, am I going to be strong enough to pull that big old gun up inside? I'm not so sure of that, so I jumped down off the ladder just as the guy with the gun got there, telling him, "Give the gun to me, you get up inside, I'll lend it to you." Boy, he chopped up that ladder, turned around, reached down. I got the gun to him somehow, most likely muzzle first, which is the lightest end, but which is also a safety no-no. But I don't think either one of us was thinking much about safety right at that time. I shouted, "Put it in the port blister, that's the side they're coming from." He turned and disappeared into the fuselage of the airplane. I grabbed a canister of that ammo in my left hand, guided myself up the ladder with the right hand, set that canister inside the airplane, back down the ladder, got the second canister, back up, set that inside, jumped inside the airplane, picked those two canisters up, turned, and stepped across to the port gun blisters as he was swinging that mounted gun out and locking it in firing position. I set the canisters down under the gun, flipped the lid over, dropped the end of the bell, ready to load, thinking he'd have the breech open. But he was just standing there staring skyward. I looked up and here comes another one of those airplanes in a power dive. Same old blinking flashing lights. Man, I couldn't wait on him to get his train of thoughts back together. I just reached over, slid the lock forward, threw the breech open, fed the end of the belt into the loading mechanism, slammed the breech shut, grabbed the charging pin, pulled it back and let it go. Bam! We got around the chamber. Shoot! I shouted, and he pulled the trigger. I guess he was one of those guys that thought with a machine gun you don't have to aim. You just point in the general direction and fire away. But I stood there and watched those tracer bullets fly off through empty space, somewhere near to where that airplane had one spin. I think that's when my country boy hunter instinct kicked into gear. I used to shoot jackrabbits on the run, Chinese ringneck pheasants on the fly. Not with a shotgun, with a .22 caliber rifle. I knew you had to aim and put that bullet where you thought the target would be when the two of them come together. Back there in the prairie pothole part of Minnesota, where I was raised on a farm in the 20s and in the 30s, you became a hunter and a gatherer real early in life. And you also better become a good shot, because oftentimes being a good shot would oftentimes mean the difference of whether you would or would not have food on the table. I shouted, "Let me get the next one." He let that gun down, stepped aside. I grabbed it, brought it back into fire position. Just as I did, here comes another one of those airplanes in a power dive. Boy, I got a bead in the lead, and I squeezed the trigger. I continued leading and firing. All the while that airplane come down, completed its power dive, pulled out into level flight, passed just overhead. I watched those tracer bullets fly through the air, and it looked like every one of them went into the round opening on front of that old radial engine air-cooled dive bomber, then stitched the stitch right down the bottom of the fuselage. Now, some of you know and remember that following each one of those tracer bullets, there were 4 regular bullets. Another tracer, 4 more regular bullets. So I know here, and I know here, that I did some damage to that aircraft. But you're not going to be watching him, because he's no longer a threat. He's going away. If you want to survive, you damn well better be looking for the next one that's coming at you. I bring that gun back down, I'm looking for another one in the power dive. I don't see any power dive. Oh, there's one out over the channel, maybe 2 city blocks away, well within the range of a .50 caliber machine gun. He's not in the power dive, but in steep banking and descending left turn, as though he's getting ready to make another machine gun run on our area. Because he's in that banking turn, I can see the cockpit, 6 or 8 feet behind the front of that airplane. I figure at that distance and at that speed, if I use the front of that airplane as my aiming point, I'm going to get some rounds into the fuselage, maybe even into the cockpit. And believe you me, folks, if you can get a couple of .50 caliber slugs bouncing around inside that cockpit with that pilot, you're going to give him something else to think about besides coming back and machine gunning your area a second time. I maintained that lead, squeezed the trigger, but I don't think I got off more than about 6 or 8, maybe a dozen rounds at the most. But I saw at least 2 of those bullets disappear into the fuselage, and when into the fuselage of that airplane, and when they did, that airplane did a steep banking and descending right turn and was gone from my field of fire. No more aircraft came back to bomb or to strafe our end of the island that morning. I stayed at that gun, and I got to fire more bursts at other aircraft as they too passed through my limited field of fire. But by now, our own aircraft parked on the ramps and on the apron and adjacent Hangar Building 6, Hangar 1, all of which were between where I was firing from there in front of Building 54 and where the USS Nevada was heading in the area of Hospital Point. Those airplanes in that hangar were beginning to burn so fiercely, putting up such heavy clouds of black smoke that it just obliterated that field of fire. We are here tonight and the beacon lighting, and I am going to pay tribute to that beacon lighting because it means so much to me. And I'm making a promise to Ted Clements, because of that, how much it means to me, I'm prepared to make a donation of $100 for every December 7th that you light that beacon. And I'm going to make it retroactive back to 1964.
Bravo.
So I have a check for $6,000 for Near the top of Mount Diablo stood a relic of the past, an old navigational aid beacon whose light was fading fast. But its purpose had been recycled, its meaning now anew. I lost my thought there. But its beam was rapidly fading. Was there anything anyone could do? Survivors' efforts had gone unanswered. Sons and daughters' efforts too. Then Save Mount Diablo volunteered to see the restoration through. Soon those efforts took on new meanings as the communities got involved. With so many of you working together, all previous problems were soon solved. Now that beacon shines more brightly, even more so than before, and we hope it will always do so, now and forevermore. Those victims applaud and salute each of you for what you have done. Navy, Marine Corps, Army Air Corps, Coast Guard, each and every one. And those few of us who still survive are eternally grateful too, knowing those lost will be remembered because of all of you. When our time comes to join with them again, we'll just be moving on, but we can go remembering your promise to us that even after all the survivors have gone, in honor and in remembrance of all those lost, the beacon lighting will go on. Thank you. Thank you so much.